Wanda Jean Allen spent 12 years on death row, her days blurring into a haze of regret and regretful what-ifs behind the cold bars of Oklahoma's McAllister prison. But nothing could erase the image of that December afternoon in 1988 when she chased her lover to a police station parking lot, pulled a .38 caliber revolver from her car, and fired a single shot into Gloria Jean Leather's abdomen at close range. Watching as Gloria staggered, rake still clutched in her hand, blood pooling on the asphalt while her mother screamed for help just feet away. To unravel the storm of jealousy and impulse that ended in that gunshot, we have to rewind to a little girl fighting for scraps in the shadows of Oklahoma City's rundown projects, a world where love was scarce and survival meant bending rules before they broke you. Wanda Jean entered the world on August 17, 1959, in the heart of Oklahoma City, the second of 8 children born into a family teetering on the edge of collapse. Her mother, Marion Allen, was locked in a battle with alcoholism that never let up, not even through the pregnancies that brought Wanda and her siblings into the mix. Mary couldn't hold down a steady job, so the family scraped by on welfare checks and whatever odd scraps of work came their way, crammed into the dim, echoing halls of a public housing project where the walls seemed to whisper secrets of hardship. Wanda's father, William, stuck around just long enough to father the last child before vanishing like smoke, leaving behind a void that Mary filled with bottles more often than bedtime stories. In that fractured home, neglect wasn't a dramatic outburst. It was the quiet grind of empty cupboards and unanswered cries, the kind that seeps into a child's bones and teaches them early that the world doesn't owe you a thing. As the second oldest, Wanda shouldered a weight far beyond her years. With 7 siblings trailing behind her like ducklings in a storm, she became the makeshift guardian, the one who made sure little bellies weren't clawing at hunger pangs come dinner time. School was supposed to be her escape, a brick-and-mortar promise of something better, but it turned into another battleground. Wanda struggled from the start. Letters swam on the page, numbers twisted like riddles she couldn't crack. Her teachers noted the drift, the way she'd zone out during lessons, her mind a foggy maze shaped by her mother's drinking and the chaos at home. By her early teens, fights erupted like summer thunderclaps. Wanda's fists flew in playground scuffles and hallway standoffs, not always as the aggressor but often as the protector, defending a sibling from a bully or lashing out when the world's unfairness pressed too hard. These weren't just kid stuff. They were sparks, hints of a temper simmering beneath her tough exterior, fueled by the gnawing fear that if she didn't stand tall, her family might crumble entirely. Money was the family's phantom enemy, always just out of reach. Wanda pitched in with whatever she could, babysitting gigs, running errands for neighbors, even hawking handmade trinkets door to door, but in a household of 10 mouths, before Dad bolted, it was drops in an ocean. Desperation whispered shortcuts, and by age 13 or 14, Wanda was dipping into petty theft, snatching loaves of bread from corner stores or pocketing a few dollars from an unlocked cash box to buy formula for the baby. It started small, a survival hack born of love for her brothers and sisters, but the streets have a way of noticing. Local cops knew her name, not as a monster, but as that scrappy Allen girl with the big eyes and bigger responsibilities. A couple of run-ins led to warnings at first, then juvie stints that felt like echoes of the home she fled. Cold bunks, rigid rules, and the sting of knowing you'd let everyone down. Those early brushes with the law planted seeds of distrust and authority, a quiet rebellion that said, if the system's blind to my pain, why play by its rules? Then came the blows that reshaped her world, literally. At 12, Wanda was dashing across a busy street, mind probably buzzing with sibling squabbles or schoolyard drama, when a truck slammed into her. The impact knocked her cold, body limp on the asphalt as sirens wailed in the distance. She woke in a hospital bed, bruises blooming like dark flowers, but the real damage lurked invisible, subtle shifts in her brain, the first cracks in a mind already under siege. 3 years later, around 15, violence struck again, this time from a knife. A street altercation turned ugly fast. The blade sliced into her left temple, blood hot and sticky as she hit the ground. Doctors poked and prodded afterward, running tests that peeled back the layers. An IQ hovering at 69, smack on the edge of mental retardation. dysfunction in the left side of her brain, scrambling her grasp on words, logic, and the simple chain of if this, then that. Stress, they said, could unravel her like a pulled thread, turning everyday frustrations into blackouts of control. Imagine a teen girl, already carrying her family's weight, now wired to snap under pressures that would buckle most adults. It wasn't an excuse for what was to come, but a heartbreaking blueprint, a vulnerability that turned whispers of anger into shouts, and shouts into something far deadlier. High school, meant to be a launchpad, became Wanda's dead end. She pushed through the grades, her report cards a patchwork of FS and incomplete dreams, until 16 or 17 when she walked away for good, trading textbooks for the grind of low-wage jobs, like stocking shelves at a local store or clerking at the VA hospital where she once dreamed of becoming a nurse. But those traumas lingered like ghosts, amplifying every slight, every rejection. As Wanda stepped into young adulthood, the girl who'd stolen to feed her family now wrestled demons that petty crimes couldn't quiet. Little did she know, the motel arguments and barroom brawls waiting just around the corner would test that fragile wiring in ways no one saw coming, pushing her toward a path where love twisted into obsession and obsession into tragedy. As Wanda stepped into her 20s, the scars from her rough childhood didn't fade, they festered. Jobs came and went, mostly dead-end gigs like stocking shelves or cleaning up after others, barely enough to keep her head above water. But it was in the tangled web of relationships where her life started to unravel, turning personal storms into outright disasters. Love, for Wanda, wasn't the fairy tale kind. It was raw, intense, and often laced with danger. And that's where Deidre Pettis came in, a childhood friend who'd grown up in the same gritty corners of Oklahoma City. What started as shared laughs and secrets blossomed into something deeper, a lesbian relationship that pulled them close, but also set the stage for heartbreak. By early 1981, Wanda and Deidre were sharing an apartment, trying to build a life amid the chaos. But cracks appeared fast. Money was tight, tempers short, and arguments erupted over little things that snowballed into big ones. On June 29, 1981, the tension boiled over in a way no one could have predicted. It started like so many fights before, voices raised, words flying like daggers. Deidre's boyfriend was somehow in the mix, or at least that's what Wanda later claimed. She said she grabbed her gun only to defend herself, firing back from about 30 feet away after he supposedly shot first. But the truth, pieced together by investigators, painted a darker picture, one of raw fury up close and personal. Step by step, the scene unfolded in their cramped apartment, a place that should have been a safe haven but became a tomb. Wanda didn't just shoot from afar. Forensics showed bruises on Deidre's body from being pistol-whipped, the kind of marks that scream close-range struggle. Powder burns seared into Deidre's skin told the rest. Wanda had pressed the gun right against her, pulling the trigger at point-blank range. The bullet tore through Deidre's chest, dropping her to the floor in a pool of her own blood. Can you picture it? Two women who once shared dreams and beds, now locked in a deadly clash where love twisted into lethal rage. The emotional toll was shattering. Deidre, just 25, gasped her last breaths alone on that dingy carpet, her life snuffed out over an argument that escalated beyond reason. For Wanda, it was a blur of panic and regret, but the tragedy rippled out. Deidre's family buried her at Trice Hill Cemetery, forever haunted by the what-ifs of a friendship turned fatal. What did Wanda do right after? She didn't run far. Overwhelmed, she confessed to the police, insisting it was an accident, a heat-of-the-moment mistake. But the evidence didn't match her story. Arrest came swift. Cops hauled her in that same day, charging her with murder. Prosecutors offered a deal, plead guilty to first-degree manslaughter, and she'd get 4 years. Wanda took it, serving 2 behind bars at Mabel Bassett Correctional Center. Emerging in 1983, she was a changed woman, or so it seemed, probation hanging over her like a dark cloud, vowing to stay straight. But freedom brought new temptations, and old demons whispered louder. Little did she know, her path was crossing with someone who'd drag her back into the abyss. Enter Gloria Jean Leathers, a 29-year-old with her own stormy past. Gloria wasn't a stranger to violence. Back in 1979, she'd stabbed a woman to death in Tulsa during a heated fight, serving time for it. That's where she and Wanda met. In prison, where shared hardships forged a bond. By 1988, they were out and living together, their relationship a roller coaster of passion and punches. It was turbulent from the start. Jealous spats, physical scuffles, the kind where love and hate blurred into one. Wanda adored Gloria, but the fights left bruises on both sides. Gloria had a fiery temper, boasting about her past kill to intimidate, while Wanda's brain damage made every argument feel like a ticking bomb, her ability to think straight crumbling under stress. The lead-up to that fateful day built like a gathering storm. On December 2nd, 1988, it all kicked off at a local grocery store in Oklahoma City. Words turned sharp over something trivial. Maybe money, maybe jealousy, and the shouting drew stares. Things got so heated that a police officer stepped in, escorting the women back to their home to cool off. There, under the cop's watchful eye, Gloria packed her bags, determined to leave for good. Wanda begged her to stay, tears in her eyes, pleading for one more chance to fix things. But Gloria was done. As she headed to her car with her mother, frustration boiled over. Gloria snatched a garden rake from the yard and swung it hard, smacking Wanda across the face. Blood trickled, pain flared, but Gloria didn't stop. She and her mom drove straight to the Oklahoma City police station to file a complaint against Wanda. Wanda, nursing her wound and seething with a mix of hurt and anger, couldn't let it go. She jumped in her car and followed them, later saying she just wanted to talk, to stop Gloria from walking away forever. Pulling into the police station parking lot, the scene was chaotic. Gloria's mom screaming warnings, officers nearby, but not close enough to intervene. Wanda spotted Gloria still gripping that rake, approaching her car like she meant business. Heart pounding, Wanda reached into her vehicle and pulled out a .38 caliber revolver she'd kept hidden. In a split-second decision that sealed their fates, she fired once, the bullet slamming into Gloria's abdomen at close range. Gloria staggered back, rake clattering to the ground, blood soaking her clothes as she collapsed on the asphalt. Her mother wailed in horror, rushing to her side, while two officers and a dispatcher heard the crack of the shot echo through the lot. The tragedy hit like a gut punch. Gloria clung to life for 3 agonizing days in the hospital, machines beeping her fading rhythm, before dying on December 5, 1988. Buried at Green Acres Memorial Gardens in Sperry, Oklahoma, she left behind a family shattered by the loss, a mother who'd watched her daughter gunned down, siblings robbed of her presence. For Wanda, it was the ultimate heartbreak, a love story ending in bloodshed, fueled by cycles of abuse where both women had been victims and aggressors. What pushes someone to that edge, where desperation overrides everything? The emotional wreckage was profound, highlighting how untreated trauma and volatile bonds can explode into irreversible loss, leaving scars on everyone touched by it. Right after the shooting, Wanda didn't flee the scene. Stunned, gun still warm in her hand, she stood there as chaos erupted. Officers swarmed the lot, cuffing her on the spot, while Gloria's mom cradled her dying daughter. The .38 was later recovered near their home, linking it straight to Wanda. Arrest was immediate. No chase, no hiding. Charged with first-degree murder, she claimed self-defense, pointing to Gloria's rake attack and violent history as proof she feared for her life. But the prosecution painted her as cold and calculated, especially with her prior manslaughter conviction hanging like a noose. What do you think? Was it fear or fury that pulled the trigger? As Wanda sat in jail, awaiting trial, the weight of her actions settled in, but the real cliffhanger loomed. Would justice see her side, or seal her fate forever? The trial wrapped up like a bad dream no one could wake from. In October 1989, after weeks of tense testimony in an Oklahoma City courtroom, the jury foreman stood and read the verdict: guilty of first-degree murder. Wanda, her face pale under the fluorescent lights, heard the death sentence echo like a final slam of a cell door. No more self-defense pleas, no more tearful stands. Just the cold reality of Oklahoma's women's death row at Mabel Bassett Correctional Center, a low-slung facility south of the city where the days stretched like taffy, sweet with false hope and bitter with the weight. Those 12 years hit Wanda like waves she couldn't outrun. The prison itself wasn't the Hollywood nightmare of clanging iron and constant shouts. Mabel Bassett had a quieter hum for its death row wing, just a dozen or so women in separate units, each in a 6 by 9-foot cell with a concrete bunk, a steel toilet sink combo, and a sliver of sky through barred windows. Mornings kicked off at 6 a.m. with the buzz of fluorescent lights flickering on, followed by a breakfast tray of oatmeal or eggs slid under the door. No silverware, just plastic spoons to keep things from turning ugly. Wanda would eat slow, maybe whisper a quick prayer over it, then settle into the rhythm that defined her time there, reading. Books were her escape hatch, borrowed from the weekly library cart, devotionals at first, then thicker tomes on faith and forgiveness as her born-again Christianity took root early on, sometime in the early 90s. She'd pore over the Bible for hours, underlining verses about mercy with a stubby pencil, her low IQ making the words a puzzle she pieced together one line at a time. Afternoons brought a mix of isolation and small mercies. Lockdown meant staring at cinder block walls painted a dull beige, the only color from faded family photos taped up, snaps of her siblings, reminders of the life outside. But Wanda wasn't one to stew in silence. She'd earned rec time, those precious 90 minutes in the fenced yard where she'd walk laps with other inmates, chatting about everything from bad prison food to dreams of parole that never came. Guards knew her as steady. No fights, no lip, just a nod and a morning, ma'am, that made her one of the easier ones to watch. She pitched in on jobs too, like sorting mail or helping in the laundry, folding sheets with a focus that quieted her mind. It wasn't glamorous, but it kept the demons at bay, those flashes of Gloria's face or Deidre's blood that crept in during quiet nights. Interactions painted the fuller picture of a woman remaking herself, piece by fragile piece. With fellow inmates, Wanda was the big sister type, sharing smokes during yard time, back when they allowed them, or slipping encouraging notes under doors during holidays. A few became close, trading stories of lost loves and bad choices, bonds forged in the shared grind of appeals and heartache. Guards treated her fair. She followed rules, so they'd been a little. Extra library books, maybe a longer visit slot. But it was her lawyer, David Presson, who became family. What started as courtroom duty turned into weekly visits, him bringing legal pads and laughs, her opening up about the head injuries that scrambled her thoughts. Then there was Reverend Robin Myers, her spiritual anchor, who led Bible studies and listened as Wanda grappled with her past. "I hurt so many," she'd confide, voice cracking, though she'd never say it outright to Gloria's kin. Remorse? It simmered under the surface, never boiling over into a public apology that might have swayed hearts. Prosecutors had nailed her as a remorseless liar from day one, mocking her courtroom tears as fake. Wanda stuck to her guns, self-defense, every time, but in those cell-side prayers, faith cracked her open. Becoming born again wasn't just a checkbox for appeals, it was a lifeline, Myers later said, helping her reframe the lesbian relationships that society shamed and the violence that defined her. She renounced it all in letters to the parole board, seeking redemption in Scripture, begging for a second chance to live for the Lord. Appeals ate up the years like termites. Direct to the Oklahoma Court of Criminal Appeals in 1990, denied. Post-conviction in 1995, spotlighting her IQ of 69 and brain damage from that truck hit at 12 and knife wound at 15, tossed out. Federal habeas in 1998, same story. By 2000, clemency was the Hail Mary. Reverend Jesse Jackson sat with her, holding hands as cameras for the documentary The Execution of Wanda Jean rolled, capturing her last frantic months. Phone calls to family, frantic legal filings, the pardon and parole board's 3-2 no in December. Transferred to Oklahoma State Penitentiary in McAlester for the endgame. The air turned heavier, the cells colder, execution protocol stripping away even the illusion of routine. Wanda spent her final days in a holding cell, surrounded by the hum of death house machinery, trading jokes with Presson 1 minute, sobbing psalms the next. On January 11, 2001, strapped to the gurney, she looked out at the tinted window hiding Gloria's relatives and whispered, "Father, forgive them. They know not what they do." A smile for Presson, a defiant flick of her tongue. Then silence, the drugs coursing through, ending a life that started in scraps and ended in shadows. Wanda's time behind those bars shows how prisons can break or barely mend us. A slow grind where faith flickers, but justice feels like a locked gate. But was putting her to death real accountability, or just punishing the poverty and pain that wired her wrong from the jump? Share your take below. Did the system get it right, or miss the mercy mark? If stories like this stick with you, give it a like and subscribe for more deep dives into lives that challenge what we think we know.